Welcome back, bestie, to my channel. And if this is your first time of seeing me, my name is Egons. I'm a pattern making and sewing instructor. I have an online school where I teach beginners, intermediate and advanced learners how to create their own patterns and how to sew from scratch. So if you want to learn pattern making and sewing professionally, join my online school. I'll drop the link below in the description box so you can go ahead and sign up. You can also find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Threads Fashion, same as my YouTube name. There I share a lot of pattern making tutorials and some sewing tips and tricks. Go check me out. So in today's class, we'll be learning how to create patterns for these beautiful twist knot skirts. It looks a bit difficult, but it's really easy and straightforward. Just follow along with me. I'll be sharing tips and tricks for you to get it right. So now let's head over to the table so that we can start drafting our patterns. But as always, remember to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and then leave comments below for me. That really encourages me to make more tutorials. Thank you. So to start drafting patterns for this twist knot skirt, you are going to need your basic skirt. So you're going to draft your basic skirt first and then actually cut it out, or at least create the patterns. I've already done that. You see, I've drafted this is my basic skirt. This is a pencil skirt, just the basic. This is the center front and this is the back. All right, and then this is my waistband. So I've drafted it and I've cut it out. So this one here now is just for the twist detail that is in front. This is the part we are actually concerned about in this tutorial. So this is my basic skirt now. I've drafted it out and I've actually removed the waistband. So be sure to remove your waistband before you continue with this twist detail. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is we are going to draw the design in front. So you're going to determine where you actually want your twist to start from. So for me, I like my twist to start from somewhere under my dart like this. And this line here at the middle here is actually my hip line. So I can already redraw it so that you can see it very well. So this is my hip line. All right, and this is my center front line. So from this point, or from whichever point you want to draw your design, you are going to place your meter rule and then draw your design. Okay, then you connect it from here, from the end here, all the way down to your side seam, just like this. And then for this other part here, you are also going to connect it from here, from this point here where your knot is going to be. You connect it to your side seam on the waistline like that. And then you're going to determine how long you want this small part to be. So I'm just going to make it something very similar to this portion. So I'll draw my design like this. So you see, now you're going to connect this part here all the way down to your waistline as well, to create your design very nicely. Okay, so if you take a look at it, my design is already drawn out. So before we continue working on it, I want to actually cut out the excess that we don't need. Now for this little waist dart here, we're just going to ignore it. So I'm going to trim off the excess paper that we don't need so that we can continue working on it. Okay, so this is the part that we actually need for our twist knot design. Now you can see that we already have like 4 portions. We have this part, we have this part, then we have this side, and we have this other side. So now we are going to draw slash lines. Maybe I should place it like this so you can see it very well. So we're going to draw slash lines. Now before we draw slash lines, one thing I want to let you understand is we are going to cut through this line. This is our hip line. We are going to cut it through. So in order for us not to make a mistake, I'm just going to put arrows to show that this is my hip line. So first of all, I'm going to put arrow like this, and then I'm going to place another arrow like this. So this line shows that that is my hip line. The reason why I'm doing that is because when we start spreading it out, we may get confused. And I'm going to do the same thing for this other side. So this is my hip line. Alright, so once you've done that, we are now going to draw our slash lines. So for this part, so we have 2 sections here. So for this part here, I'm going to divide it into 2. So I'm just going to draw my slash line. Just look for the midpoint here, and then you draw your slash line. Just like this. And then you draw another slash line. You divide this part into 2 as well, and then you draw your slash line just like this. All right, so if you, in order not to get confused, you can also label them or number them rather. So this is going to be 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4, so we don't get confused. Now you move over to this other side. You're also going to draw your slash lines. You divide this section, this part here, you divide it into 2. So you just draw your slash lines just like this. Again, you divide this upper part into 2, and then you draw your slash line just like this. Now you're going to go ahead and number this as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So another thing you need to know is the way we are going to cut them is important. Please take note of the way you're going to slash them and spread them. So for this middle line here, which is our hip line, I'm just going to cut it from here. You see, I'm going to cut it from here, so I'm going to put my arrow like this, showing that I'm going to cut it all the way from this part. Now for these other lines, I'm going to actually cut them from this part. So I'm going to put my arrow like this because I'm cutting like this, and the same goes for this one as well. And another thing you can do, you can also place side seam. You can write side seam here, because once you spread them out, you may get confused. You may not know which part is the side seam. So I'm just writing side seam here. I'm abbreviating it. That's my side seam. So that's that. Again, for this other side, you are going to cut this line from here. These are our middle line to divide it. So you cut it from here. But for this other one, you're going to cut them from this part. You're going to cut them from this part like this. All right, so take note of my arrows, of how the arrows are placed, so you don't get confused. Now that it's like this, I hope you're following. I cannot detach the 2 of them because we're going to spread them separately. So I take this off, and then I'm going to set this one aside, and then we're going to work on this part first. So I am going to cut this part through. Well, not cutting it through, I'm going to cut it to the end. Okay, so you see what I've done. You cut it like that, and then you just move it like this. All right, just move it and let it stay like this so you don't get confused. Now for the other ones, take note, we're going to cut them from this part. The same thing for this part as well. So let me actually cut this one first. Please do not cut it to the end. Do not cut it through. Yes, you're going to have something like this. and then you're going to cut this other part towards the side seam as well. Okay, again, do not cut it through. All right, so you see what we have something like this. We're going to place a paper underneath it and then spread them out. Now you're going to determine how wide you want to spread it out. For me, I really don't want it to be too wide, so I'm going to use maybe about 15 cm. So I'm just going to spread it out, let's say about 15 cm. Yes, this is okay for me. Make sure that when you spread them out, they are lying very flat. Now you see how this is, it's not lying very flat, so just make it flat. Okay, so once you've spread them out like this and you're happy with it, you just go ahead and cut off the excess paper. So this is how your pattern is going to look like. Can you see it? So that's how your pattern is going to look like. So we're going to work with the other side. No worries, I'm going to show you how to stitch it. So no worries at all. For this pattern, the only thing you need to do now is you're just going to go add your seam allowance. 1.5 cm seam allowance all around. That's all. You finish with this pattern. So let's go ahead and work on the other part. So for this side, you are going to again cut this on this part, on this hip line. Just cut it all the way down to this side. Do not cut it through, and then you open it again like the way you did for the other side, just like this. And then you're going to cut this other one from here. So you cut, okay, and then you cut this part as well from this part. So now you're going to get a plain sheet of paper, and then you're going to spread them okay. So now you can spread it about 10 cm or thereabout. Yeah, it really depends on you. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, so this is about 10 cm, which is okay, not too wide. So use your sticky tape to hold them together in place. Okay, so once you're happy with the way you've spread it out, you are just going to cut off the excess paper. So this is how your other side of the pattern is going to look like. So we're going to add seam allowance all around and cut them out, or you can just place them directly on your fabric, and instead of tracing out this pattern, place it directly on your fabric and then add your seam allowance and cut them out. I already have seam allowance on the side seam, so I'm not going to add seam allowance here. So I'm just going to place it on my fabric and cut them out. Now take note of these two arrows. Remember, they are going to meet later, so we're going to put notches or mark there so that we'll be able to indicate this part. All right, so you're going to place it on your fabric just like this, and then you're going to cut it out. Remember to add your seam allowance before cutting. So when you finish cutting it out, just like this. Please remember to place your notches. Mark this part here. You see this part where we have our arrows? You can place a notch or you can use your chalk to mark it. Just make sure you mark it because we are going to place it, we're going to stitch it together so that it will match. So when we are stitching, it's going to be something like this when we are going to stitch it. So just make sure that your notches are there. All right, so then you go ahead to cut the other side. So now to stitch it, the first thing we're going to do would be for us to go overlog this part. You see the part where you have your notches or where you have your chalk mark, that part there, you're going to go overlock it so that you have a nice finishing. And then for this other side here, you're just going to take it to your sewing machine and then you fold it in nicely for a clean finishing. Just fold it in once and then fold it in a second time, just like this. And you fold it in you stitch it all the way from one end down to the other end. Now for the smaller piece, you're going to do exactly the same thing. For the part where you have your notches, this was the part where we had our arrows, you are going to go overlock it nicely. And then for this other part, you're just going to fold it in nicely, and then you're going to stitch it from one end all the way down to the other end. All right, so when you finish stitching, be sure to give it a very good press. Now you're going to stitch, this is the right side of my fabric, you're just going to fold this like this, fold it like this, right side against the right side, and then match your notches, match it very well like that. So you are going to now stitch from one end here, from the end here, you're going to stitch from here all the way down. Now once you get to this place, you're going to leave about 2 or 3 cm, maybe about 3 cm, so that you have a hole in here. This one is going to pass through that hole, so you leave maybe about 3 cm or thereabout here for the hole. So you stop somewhere here. All right, so once you finish stitching, be sure to open press your seam allowance for a clean finishing. Now if you flip it to the other side, you're going to have something like this. Remember, you left a small opening here. You're going to have something like this. You see our twist is already taking shape. Now you're going to bring the other parts, these other parts like this, and then with this side, the side where you where your notches are facing up, you're just going to take it like this, squeeze it and pass it through this hole from the under, just like this. So watch me do it. So you place it in like this, pull it out. All right, so just like that, and then you flip it to this side. So again, you're going to match your seams, you're going to match your notches. You see your notches here, you're going to match your notches, and then you are also going to stitch. You're going to stitch from this end all the way to as far as you can go, somewhere here, and then you open press your seam allowance. So let me stitch mine and then I'll come back and show it to you. So once you finish, you're going to have something like this, and then make sure to give this a very good press. You see, nice and neat, right? Okay, one last step. You're just going to take your skirt, the main body of your skirt. Yeah, this is my front piece. This is the right side, and then you place it on it just like this. You can see, and then you're going to go stitch it, place it, use your pins to hold them in place, and then you're going to go stitch it on the side seam and also stitch these other parts on the side seam as well. Before you couple your skirt, you join the back side and then you join your join the back side and then you join your waistband. So it's easy peasy, right? So this is how my finished skirt looks like. Nice, right? Do you like it? I personally really like this skirt. I'm sure you will like it too. Please let me know in the comment section if you like it and if this tutorial was simple enough for you to follow. Let me also know if it's a skirt that you want to try. And please do not just watch this video and just move away. If you're not already following me yet, if you're not already subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button and follow me now. Leave me a comment, give me thumbs up just to support and encourage me. This video like this, they take some days to make them, so we need your support. Please support me as always. Thank you. And if you want to learn pattern making and sewing professionally, remember I have an online school where I teach beginners, intermediate and advanced learners from the scratch how to create their patterns and how to sew beautifully just like this or even better. All right, so thank you very much. I'll see you again in my next video. Bye.